There is a sound you have never heard, and yet it has been shaping everything you experience. Not a sound in the way you normally think of sound. Not something your ears can detect or your phone can record. This is a vibration that exists at the very foundation of physical reality. A frequency so fundamental that the matter in your body, the thoughts in your mind, and the space between the stars are all expressions of it. And for most of human history, no one could even describe it, let alone work with it deliberately. But in the last century, something changed. Physicists stumbled upon this frequency almost by accident, and what they found was so strange, so disorienting to everything they believed about how the universe works, that the discovery was quietly absorbed into the equations and almost never spoken about in plain language. It was not hidden from you on purpose. It was hidden from you because the people who found it did not know what to do with it either. What I am about to share with you is not mysticism dressed up as science, and it is not science stripped of its deeper implications. It is the place where those two rivers meet, and by the end of this, you will understand not just what this frequency is, but why your nervous system already knows it, why your life keeps producing the same patterns when you lose contact with it, and how to bring yourself back into resonance with it using nothing more than your own attention and your own body. Let us start where the discovery began. In the early 20th century, a physicist named Max Planck was trying to solve what seemed like a minor technical problem. He was working on something called black body radiation, which is just the way heated objects emit energy. The equations at the time predicted that a heated object should release infinite energy at short wavelengths, which obviously did not happen. The math said one thing, reality said another. Planck tried everything to reconcile the two, and finally, almost in desperation, he introduced a mathematical trick. He proposed that energy was not emitted in a smooth, continuous stream the way water flows from a faucet. Instead, it came in tiny, discrete packets. He called these packets quanta, and the size of each packet was determined by a very specific number, a constant that Planck himself calculated. That number is 6.626 times 10 to the negative 34th joules per second. It is known as Planck's constant, and it is one of the most fundamental numbers in all of physics. Now here is what most people miss about this. Planck did not discover that energy sometimes behaves in packets. He discovered that energy always behaves in packets, at every scale, in every interaction. The universe does not do smooth. It does not do continuous. At the most fundamental level, reality is granular. It clicks, it steps, it pulses, and the size of those pulses, the rhythm of that clicking, is set by this one constant. This means that the universe has a beat, not metaphorically, literally. There is a minimum unit of action, a smallest possible change, and everything that happens, every photon emitted, every electron that shifts orbit, every chemical bond that forms in your brain as you process these words, happens in multiples of that beat. The universe is not a river, it is a drum. But Planck's constant was only the beginning. Because once physicists accepted that energy comes in discrete packets, they had to ask the next question. What happens between the packets? What exists in the gap between one quantum step and the next? And the answer they arrived at, after decades of experiment and argument, is one of the strangest truths ever uncovered. Between the steps, nothing is determined. Between the pulses, reality exists as pure potential, not as one thing or another, but as every possible thing, simultaneously. This is not philosophy. This is the superposition principle, and it has been confirmed by every experiment ever designed to test it. Think about what this means. The fabric of your experience, the solid floor beneath you, the screen in front of you, the body you inhabit. All of it is built from particles that spend most of their existence in a state of undetermined potential. They are not somewhere specific until something causes them to choose. And that something, as it turns out, is measurement, observation, interaction, the act of looking. This is where the forbidden frequency begins to reveal itself. Because if reality pulses in discrete steps, and if the state of each pulse is not determined until it is observed, then there is a frequency at which reality itself is refreshing. Not the frequency of any particular particle or wave, but the frequency of the process by which potential becomes actual. The rate at which the universe chooses itself into existence. And this is where mainstream physics gets uncomfortable, because the equations describe this process beautifully. Quantum field theory can predict the behavior of particles to 12 decimal places of accuracy. But the equations do not explain why observation matters. They do not explain why a photon exists as a spread-out wave of probability until a detector clicks and then suddenly becomes a single point. They describe the what. They are silent on the why. And that silence is where the forbidden frequency lives. Let me take you deeper into this. In 1948, a Dutch physicist named Hendrik Casimir predicted something remarkable. He said that if you take two perfectly flat metal plates and bring them extremely close together in a vacuum with nothing between them, no air, no light, no particles of any kind, the plates will be pushed together by an invisible force. This sounded absurd. How can nothing push something? But when the experiment was finally performed with sufficient precision, Casimir was right. The plates moved. Something in the vacuum, in what we call empty space, was exerting a measurable physical force. What Casimir had discovered is now called the Casimir effect, and it is direct evidence of something that quantum field theory had been predicting since the 1920s. Empty space is not empty. Even when you remove every particle, every photon, every trace of matter and energy, the vacuum still seethes with activity. It is filled with what physicists call zero-point fluctuations, tiny spontaneous vibrations in the quantum fields that permeate all of space. These are not fluctuations of something. They are fluctuations of the fields themselves, the fields from which all particles and forces emerge, and they cannot be removed. They are the irreducible minimum. The floor beneath the floor. The energy contained in these fluctuations is called zero-point energy, and its theoretical density is almost incomprehensibly large. When physicists calculate how much energy should exist in every cubic centimeter of empty space based on quantum field theory, they get a number so enormous that it exceeds the total energy of all the matter in the observable universe. By a factor of about 10 to the 120th power. This is not a small discrepancy. It is the largest mismatch between theory and observation in the history of science. It is sometimes called the vacuum catastrophe, and it remains unsolved. But here is what matters for what we are exploring together. Whether the calculated value is correct or wildly off, the zero-point fluctuations themselves are real. The Casimir effect proves they exist. They have been measured. They exert force. And they are everywhere, in every point of space at every moment, including the space inside your body right now. This means that what you call empty space, the gaps between your atoms, the silence between your thoughts, the pause between your heartbeats, is not empty. It is vibrating. It is alive with a kind of foundational hum, a frequency that exists below everything else, beneath every sound, every light wave, every neural signal. It is the frequency of the vacuum itself, the tone the universe makes when it is doing nothing at all except existing. And you have felt it. You may not have had a name for it, but you have felt it. There are moments in life when the noise drops away and something else becomes audible, not to your ears, to something deeper. Maybe it happened in the middle of the night, when you woke for no reason, and the world was perfectly still. And for just a few seconds, before your mind started generating thoughts, you felt a kind of hum beneath everything, a presence in the silence. Or maybe it happened during an experience of deep awe, standing somewhere vast, a mountain, an ocean, a sky full of stars. If you've been doing everything right and reality still hasn't shifted, this is the one thing nobody has told you. You meditate, you visualize, you affirm every single morning, and still, somehow, the life you're calling in stays just out of reach. It is not your effort. It is not your mindset. There is something underneath all of it, quietly running the show. I am hosting a free live transmission where I walk you through exactly what that is and how to finally shift it at the root. The link to register is in the description below. Save your seat. The moment you see this, you will understand why you could not see it before, and you felt your sense of self thin out and something immense press in. That was not just an emotion. That was your nervous system, for a brief moment, dropping below its usual noise floor and making contact with the vibration that is always there underneath. If this is resonating with you, if something in these ideas feels like it is confirming what you have always sensed but could not articulate, take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss what comes next. This is the frequency that has been hidden from you, not by conspiracy, not by any deliberate act of suppression. It has been hidden by noise, by the sheer volume of stimulation that modern life pours through your senses every waking moment, by the constant chatter of a mind that has been trained to narrate, evaluate, and react to everything it encounters, by a nervous system that is almost never allowed to settle into deep enough stillness to detect what lives beneath its own activity. Think of it this way. Imagine you live next to a waterfall. The sound is so constant, so ever-present, that after a while you stop hearing it. It becomes part of the background. You could not describe it if someone asked, because it has become invisible to your attention. Now imagine that one day the waterfall stops, and in the sudden silence, you hear something you have never heard before. A low, steady tone that was always there, always vibrating through the rock and the water and the air, but was completely masked by the roar of the falls. The waterfall is your mind. The roar is the endless stream of thoughts, reactions, judgments, plans, memories, and projections that fill your waking consciousness. And the tone underneath is the zero-point hum of reality itself, the foundational frequency from which everything in your experience, including your mind, arises. Now, I want to be precise here, because precision matters. I am not saying that you can literally hear zero-point fluctuations with your ears. The frequencies involved are far beyond the range of human hearing. What I am saying is that your body is a quantum system. Every atom in your cells participates in quantum processes. The chemical bonds that hold your DNA together, the electron transfers that power your mitochondria, the ion channels that fire your neurons. All of these are quantum events, governed by the same principles, shaped by the same fields, pulsing at multiples of the same fundamental constant. You are not separate from the quantum field. You are an expression of it, a localized pattern in it. And when the noise of your surface-level processing quiets down enough, the deeper pattern becomes perceptible, not as sound, as coherence, as a felt sense of alignment with something that was always there. This is where we need to talk about what coherence actually means, because the word gets used loosely, and I want you to understand it with the kind of specificity that makes it useful rather than decorative. In physics, coherence describes a very particular relationship between waves. Two waves are coherent when they maintain a consistent, stable phase relationship with each other. Their peaks and troughs line up in a predictable way. A laser is coherent light. All the photons are in step, vibrating together, which is why a laser beam can travel vast distances without spreading out and can cut through steel. Ordinary light, like sunlight, is incoherent. The photons are all vibrating at different phases, going in different directions, canceling each other out as often as they reinforce each other. Same energy, vastly different effect. Now apply this to your nervous system. Your brain generates electromagnetic activity. This is not metaphor. It is measurable with an EEG. Different states of consciousness produce different patterns of brainwave activity. When you are anxious, scattered, reactive, your brainwaves are incoherent. Different regions are firing at different frequencies, out of phase with each other, like sunlight. The energy is there, but it is diffuse, unfocused, canceling itself out. When you are deeply focused, calm, present, something shifts. The brainwaves across different regions begin to synchronize. They come into phase. They become coherent. And the effect is not subtle. Coherent brain states are associated with enhanced perception, faster processing, deeper insight, and what researchers in contemplative neuroscience call flow states. But here is the part that connects this to the forbidden frequency. Research at the HeartMath Institute and elsewhere has shown that coherence is not just a brain phenomenon. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field roughly 60 times stronger than your brain's. And when your heart rhythm becomes coherent, which happens when you enter states of genuine appreciation, compassion, or deep calm, it pulls your brain into coherence with it. And when heart and brain are coherent, your entire physiology shifts. Immune function improves. Hormonal balance shifts. Inflammation decreases. And subjectively, people in this state report a quality of perception that is hard to describe but unmistakable. A sense of being connected to something larger. A feeling that the boundary between inside and outside has become thinner. I want to pause here and ask you something. Have you ever experienced a moment like that? A moment where the boundary between you and everything else seemed to dissolve, even briefly? I would love to hear about it in the comments. What were you doing? What did it feel like? Because these moments matter more than most people realize. What is happening in these moments, from the perspective we are building here, is that the noise floor of your system has dropped low enough for the foundational frequency to become influential. You are not generating coherence from nothing. You are removing the interference patterns that were preventing the coherence that was already there from expressing itself. The 0-point field is already coherent. It is already organized. It is already vibrating in a way that is more ordered than anything your conscious mind can produce. Your job is not to create the signal. Your job is to stop drowning it out. This reframes everything you have been taught about effort and achievement and making things happen. The dominant model of human agency in modern culture is additive. You want something, you add effort. You want to feel better, you add a supplement, a practice, a belief, a strategy. You want to change your life. You add more action, more planning, more force. And sometimes that works, on the surface for a while. But it almost always creates more noise, more activity, more processing, more distance from the frequency that was already trying to organize your experience from underneath. The forbidden frequency is forbidden not because someone locked it away, but because the very act of striving to find it pushes it further from your perception. It is like trying to see a faint star at night. If you look directly at it, the most sensitive cells in your retina, the rods, are not at the center of your visual field. They are at the periphery. So the harder you stare, the more the star disappears. You can only see it by looking slightly away, by softening your gaze, by letting the signal arrive rather than trying to grab it. This is not passivity. This is a different kind of action, and it has a name in almost every contemplative tradition that has ever existed. In Taoism, it is called Wu Wei, which is often translated as non-action, but more accurately means non-forcing. It is action that arises from alignment rather than will. In the Zen Ho'op-Zem tradition, it is called Mushin, no mind, the state in which the practitioner's movements arise without the interference of deliberate thought. In the Indian tradition of Advaita Vedanta, it is the recognition that the witness, the awareness that observes all experience, is itself unchanging and already complete. You do not create it. You recognize it. You stop obscuring it. And here is where the quantum connection becomes more than metaphor. In quantum mechanics, there is a phenomenon called the quantum Zeno effect. It was named after the ancient Greek philosopher Zeno, who posed paradoxes about motion. The quantum Zeno effect works like this. If you observe a quantum system frequently enough, you freeze it. You prevent it from evolving. A particle that would normally decay, or a system that would normally transition from one state to another, will remain locked in its current state if it is measured repeatedly at short intervals. Observation, when it is too frequent, too intense, too grasping, stops the natural evolution of the system. Think about how this maps onto your inner experience. When you are obsessively monitoring yourself, checking your emotional state, analyzing your thoughts, measuring your progress, asking, am I there yet? Am I healed yet? Am I enlightened yet? You are performing the psychological equivalent of the quantum Zeno effect. You are freezing yourself. Your constant observation is preventing the very transition you are trying to achieve. The system cannot evolve because you will not stop measuring it. The forbidden frequency requires the opposite. It requires that you create the conditions for reception and then step back. Not step back into distraction or numbness, but step back into a quality of attention that is open, receptive, and non-grasping. The kind of attention that watches without grabbing, that notices without narrating, that is present without demanding. Let me give you a concrete image for this. Imagine a pond. When the surface is agitated, choppy, full of waves, you cannot see the bottom. The depth is there. The clarity is there. but the surface disturbance makes it invisible. Now imagine the wind dies down, the waves settle, the surface becomes still, and suddenly, without anyone doing anything, the bottom becomes visible. The depth reveals itself, not because it was created by the stillness, but because the stillness removed the only thing that was hiding it. Your nervous system is the surface of that pond. The forbidden frequency is the depth, and the waves are not your enemies. They are not things to be destroyed or conquered. They are simply the natural response of a surface to wind. The wind, in your case, is stimulation. Input, the relentless stream of information, expectation, and reactivity that modern life generates. You do not need to fight the waves, you need to reduce the wind. Now let me take this somewhere very specific, because I want you to understand the mechanism, not just the metaphor. There is a structure in your brainstem called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It is essentially a filter. Your senses take in roughly 11 million bits of information per second. Your conscious mind can process about 40 to 50. The RAS decides which 50 make it through, and it makes that decision based on what you have told it matters, through repetition, emotional charge, and attention. When your system is in a state of chronic stress, chronic stimulation, chronic noise, the RAS is tuned to threat. It filters for danger, for problems, for what might go wrong. This is not a malfunction. It is exactly what the system is designed to do under those conditions. But it means that the vast majority of reality, the 11 million bits minus 50, is invisible to you. Not because it does not exist, but because your filter is not tuned to it. You are living in a tiny, threat-colored slice of what is actually present. When you bring your system into coherence, when the noise drops and the heart and brain synchronize, the RAS recalibrates. The filter opens, not to everything, that would be overwhelming, but to a different set of signals. Signals that were always there but were below the threshold of your attention. Subtler patterns, deeper connections, the kind of information that does not scream for your attention, but whispers. And among those whispers is the signal we have been talking about, the foundational hum, the frequency beneath the noise. This is why people in deep meditation, in flow states, in moments of profound stillness, report experiences that sound mystical, but may be more accurately described as perceptual. They are not hallucinating. They are perceiving more of what is actually there. The filter has opened, and reality, which was always richer and more interconnected than their default state allowed them to see, is suddenly visible. For those wanting the complete map of these frequencies and how to work with them, listen closely. Have you spent years chasing manifestation, visualizing, affirming, raising your vibration, only to watch the same patterns repeat? Every traditional method assumes the same thing, that you are separate from what you want. That separation was never real. You were chasing a signal you were already broadcasting. Beyond the frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery walks through all 9 frequencies, from the dense transmissions trapping you through the ascending currents to the master frequencies where consciousness becomes the field. Every method you tried sent a signal outward. This one tunes the signal you already are. Every day you delay, your nervous system broadcasts the same old signal, and breaking free gets harder. So move on it tonight. The link is in the pinned comment below. Now back to the deeper current of what we have been exploring. There is a physicist named David Bohm who spent the latter part of his career developing an idea that speaks directly to this. Bohm proposed that reality has two orders. The explicate order is the world as we normally perceive it. Separate objects, distinct events, things happening in sequence. The implicate order is the deeper level from which the explicate order unfolds. In the implicate order, everything is enfolded into everything else. Separation is an illusion of the surface. At the deeper level, the universe is an undivided whole, and what we experience as distinct events are more like waves on the surface of an ocean, appearing separate but never actually disconnected from the water beneath them. Bohm compared this to a hologram. In a hologram, every part contains information about the whole. If you cut a holographic plate in half, you do not get half the image. You get the entire image at lower resolution. The information is distributed throughout the entire system. Bohm proposed that the universe works the same way. Every point in space contains information about the entire cosmos. Every particle is connected to every other particle, not through some signal traveling between them, but because at the implicate level, they were never separate to begin with. The forbidden frequency, in Bohm's framework, is the vibration of the implicate order itself. It is the hum of the undivided whole, expressing itself through every apparently separate thing. And when you quiet your system enough to perceive it, you are not connecting to something external. You are recognizing the deeper order that was always present in your own structure, because your structure is a fold in the same fabric. This is not a comforting spiritual idea. It is a description of how a holographic universe would actually work. And it has practical implications that are immediate and testable in your own experience. Here is one. If every point contains information about the whole, then the answers you are seeking are not somewhere else. They are not in the next book, the next teacher, the next experience. They are in the depth of this moment, right now, accessible not through accumulation, but through depth of attention. The reason you keep seeking is not that the answer is far away. It is that your filter is set too narrow to perceive what is already here. Here is another. If separation is a surface phenomenon and connection is the deeper reality, then the sense of isolation that drives so much human suffering is not a fact about your situation. It is an artifact of your perceptual setting. Change the setting, and the isolation dissolves, not because your circumstances changed, but because you are now perceiving the connections that were always present. I am curious about something. What is the one pattern in your life that keeps repeating? The one you suspect might be connected to a frequency you have been unconsciously tuned to. Share it in the comments, because naming it is often the first step toward changing the station. Let me bring this into your body now, because understanding this intellectually is the beginning, not the destination. The destination is felt experience, embodied knowing. The kind of understanding that changes how you breathe, not just how you think. I want you to try something right now, wherever you are. You do not need to close your eyes, though you can if it feels right. Simply bring your attention to the space in the center of your chest. Not the surface of your chest, the space inside, the cavity where your heart sits. And without trying to change anything, without trying to feel anything in particular, just notice what is already there. There is warmth, or pressure, or a subtle pulse. Something is happening in that space right now, and it has been happening your entire life without your conscious attention. Now let your breath slow down, just slightly. Not forced, not controlled, just a gentle invitation to lengthen. Let the exhale be a little longer than the inhale, and as you do this, keep your attention in that space in your chest. You are not trying to create a feeling. You are listening. You are turning the dial of your attention away from the noise of your thoughts and toward the signal in your body. What you may notice, if you stay with this for even 60 seconds, is a subtle shift in the quality of your awareness. The mental chatter does not stop, but it recedes slightly, like a radio being turned down. And in the space that opens, there is something else, something quieter, something that was always there but was masked by the volume of your thinking. This is not the forbidden frequency itself. This is you lowering your noise floor enough to begin to approach it. The frequency is not something you generate. It is something you allow. And the allowing begins in the body, not in the mind. Because the mind is the noise, the body is the instrument. There is a reason that every contemplative tradition in human history has used the body as the doorway, not the mind. The body. Breath practices, movement practices, postural practices, chanting, fasting, even the simple act of walking slowly and deliberately. All of these work not because they create something new, but because they quiet the surface enough for the depth to become perceptible. They reduce the wind so the pond can clear. And there is something specific about the heart that matters here, something that goes beyond metaphor. Your heart is not just a pump, it is a sensory organ. It contains roughly 40,000 neurons, a network complex enough that some researchers call it the heart brain. It processes information independently of the cranial brain. It sends more signals to the brain than it receives from it, and its electromagnetic field extends several feet beyond your body, interacting with the fields of other people and, presumably, with the ambient field of the environment itself. When your heart rhythm is coherent, this field becomes organized, structured, and measurably different from the field produced by an incoherent heart. And here is what is remarkable. Other people's nervous systems respond to your heart's field. Research has shown that when one person is in heart coherence, the brainwaves of a nearby person begin to synchronize with the first person's heartbeat, not their own heartbeat, the other person's heartbeat. The coherent field is literally entraining the nervous system of another person. This is resonance, and resonance is the mechanism by which the forbidden frequency operates. In physics, resonance occurs when a system is exposed to a vibration that matches its natural frequency. A tuning fork struck near another tuning fork of the same pitch will cause the second fork to vibrate without being touched. The energy transfers through the field. The match in frequency is the key. Your body has a natural frequency, not one frequency, but a set of frequencies that correspond to its most coherent, most organized, most alive state. When you are stressed, reactive, noisy, you are vibrating out of tune with your own natural resonance. The energy is still there, but it is scattered, like incoherent light. When you quiet down, when you enter coherence, you come back into resonance with your own deepest structure. And because that structure is a fold in the quantum field, coming into resonance with yourself means coming into resonance with the field itself. This is the forbidden frequency. It is your own natural resonance, which is also the resonance of the field from which you arise. It is forbidden only in the sense that the conditions of modern life systematically prevent you from accessing it. Not through conspiracy, but through sheer noise. Through the relentless stimulation that keeps your nervous system in a state of chronic activation, your filter set to narrow, your attention locked on the surface, your awareness cut off from its own depth. And here is the part that changes everything when you truly understand it. The frequency does not just affect how you feel, it affects what happens. Because if the quantum field is the substrate from which physical reality emerges, and if observation and coherence influence how that field expresses itself, then your state of resonance is not just an internal experience. It is a creative act. You are not just perceiving reality. You are participating in its emergence. And the frequency at which you participate determines what emerges. This is not the naive version of manifestation where you think positive thoughts and a car appears in your driveway. This is something more fundamental and more honest. When your system is incoherent, stressed, reactive, the reality that emerges through your participation is colored by that incoherence. You make decisions from fear. You perceive threats that are not there. You miss opportunities that are right in front of you because your filter is not tuned to them. You interact with other people through a field of tension that their nervous systems detect and respond to, usually by becoming tense themselves. The world you experience is not separate from the state you are in. It is an expression of it. When your system is coherent, when you are in resonance with the deeper frequency, the reality that emerges shifts. Not because the universe is magically rearranging itself to please you, but because you are now perceiving more accurately, deciding more clearly, interacting more harmoniously, and participating in the field from a place of organization rather than chaos. The same raw material of life is there. But what you make of it, what you see in it, what you draw from it, is fundamentally different. There is a concept in quantum mechanics called decoherence that illuminates this from the other direction. Decoherence is the process by which a quantum system loses its coherence through interaction with its environment. A particle in superposition, existing as multiple possibilities simultaneously, becomes entangled with the particles around it, and its quantum behavior smears out into the classical behavior we see in everyday life. The magic, the possibility, the aliveness of the quantum state is lost through noise, through interaction, through entanglement with a chaotic environment. This is exactly what happens to you every day. You wake up in a relatively coherent state. Sleep, when it is deep enough, is a natural reset, a return toward your baseline frequency, and then the environment begins its work. The phone lights up, the news pours in, the obligations stack, the interactions accumulate, and with each one your coherence degrades slightly. Your field becomes entangled with the chaos around you. Your natural frequency is drowned out by the noise of the day. By evening, you are fully decohered, scattered, reactive, cut off from the very frequency that was trying to organize your experience from underneath. This is not a failure of character. It is a physics of consciousness. And understanding it as physics rather than as personal weakness changes everything about how you respond to it. You do not need more willpower. You need less noise. You do not need to try harder. You need to create conditions for coherence. You do not need to find the frequency. You need to stop losing it. Let me give you a practice that works with this directly. This is not a generic meditation. This is a specific technique designed to lower your noise floor and allow your natural resonance to re-emerge. Find a time, ideally in the morning before the day's noise begins, or in the evening after it has settled. Sit somewhere quiet. Not silent necessarily, but quiet enough that the dominant sound is not demanding your attention. Place one hand on your chest, over your heart. Place the other hand on your belly, and begin to breathe in a very specific pattern. Inhale for 5 seconds. Exhale for 5 seconds. Steady, even, without pause between the inhale and exhale. A continuous, smooth rhythm. As you breathe, bring your attention to the feeling of your heartbeat under your hand. You may not feel it immediately. That is fine. Just keep your attention there. You are not trying to slow your heart or change its rhythm. You are simply attending to it, listening to it, giving it the same quality of attention you would give to a piece of music you love. After 2 or 3 minutes of this, introduce one additional element. On each exhale, silently generate a feeling of appreciation. Not a thought about appreciation, not the word appreciation, the actual feeling. Think of something specific that genuinely evokes gratitude in you, something simple and real, and let the feeling of it fill your chest on each exhale. What you are doing is using the breath to create a rhythmic coherence in your heart, and then using the feeling of appreciation to deepen that coherence. Research shows that appreciation is one of the most reliable triggers for heart coherence. Not because it is a magic emotion, but because it is one of the few emotional states that is both positively valenced and non-grasping. Joy can be grasping. Excitement can be agitated. Appreciation is warm, open, and still. It is the emotional equivalent of the softened gaze that lets you see the faint star. Do this for 10 minutes, and as you do, notice what happens to the quality of your inner space. The thoughts do not stop, but they slow. The mental noise does not vanish, but it recedes. And in the space that opens, there is something else. Something that was always there. A quality of aliveness, of presence, of subtle vibration that is not produced by the practice but revealed by it. That is the frequency. That is what has been hidden. Not by anyone, by noise. And here is what happens when you make this a daily practice. Not as a discipline imposed from outside, but as a return to something you recognize as home. Over days and weeks, your baseline shifts. The noise floor of your system drops. You begin to notice the frequency not just in meditation, but in daily life. In the pause between two thoughts. In the moment before you react to something. In the quality of silence that exists every room, underneath every conversation, behind every sound. It was always there. You are simply becoming quiet enough to hear it. And as your baseline shifts, something else shifts with it. The patterns of your life begin to change. Not dramatically, not overnight, but unmistakably. Decisions become clearer, not because you have more information, but because you are perceiving from a less noisy place. Relationships shift, not because the other people change, but because your field is different and their nervous systems respond to the difference. Opportunities appear that were always there, but were invisible to your previous filter setting. Synchronicities increase, not because the universe is performing tricks, but because you are now perceiving connections that your incoherent state was blind to. This is not magic. It is physics applied to consciousness. It is the recognition that you are not a separate thing trying to manipulate a separate universe. You are a pattern in a field, and the frequency of that pattern determines what the field expresses through you. There is one more thing I want to leave you with, and it is perhaps the most important thing of all. The forbidden frequency is not a destination. It is not a state you achieve and then possess. It is a relationship, a continuous, living relationship between your attention and the depth from which your experience arises. Some days the noise will be louder. Some days the frequency will be clearer. This is not failure and success. This is the natural rhythm of a living system. The pond surface is sometimes still, sometimes agitated. The depth does not change. Only the surface does. Your work, if you choose to accept it, is not to achieve permanent stillness. That is another form of grasping, another version of the quantum Zeno effect, freezing yourself through obsessive monitoring. Your work is to keep returning, to notice when the noise has risen without judgment, and to gently create the conditions for it to settle again, to trust that the frequency is always there, always vibrating, always organizing, always available, even when you cannot perceive it. Especially when you cannot perceive it. Consider sharing this video with someone you know who has been searching for this understanding. Someone caught in the noise who is ready to hear what lies beneath it. When you share these ideas, you create a resonance between two nervous systems, your understanding deepening as it passes through you, their awareness opening to receive it. That is how coherence spreads, not through force but through frequency meeting frequency. Because the deepest truth about the forbidden frequency is this: it was never actually hidden from you. You were hidden from it. Buried under layers of noise, reactivity, conditioning, and the chronic overstimulation of a world that profits from your incoherence. Every time you quiet down, every time you return to your heart, every time you let the surface settle and the depth become visible, you are not discovering something new. You are remembering something ancient, something that your body has always known, something that the space between your atoms has been humming since before you were born. The field is not hiding anything from you. It is waiting for you to become quiet enough to hear what it has been saying all along. If this shifted something in you, if you felt even a moment of that deeper stillness while listening, then something important has happened. Not because of these words, but because of what was already in you, waiting for the noise to drop low enough to be noticed. Stay with that. Let it breathe. And if you want to go deeper into this territory, subscribe to this channel and leave a comment about what you noticed during the practice. Not what you thought about it. What you noticed. What you felt. Because the noticing is the practice, and the practice is the path back to the frequency that was never truly forbidden, only forgotten.